Frank, does Tua's, I guess, can you tell us how much Tua's return helps you do your job? Can you put that in terms for us?
I think his return it'll, the familiarity with 2 years, knowing how he plays, knowing how his preparation, everything that goes into his ability on game day. I just think that, when you have a guy that has been such a leader for us and such a big part of our offense, it's great to have one of our captains and our leaders, back in the mix, and we're excited for Sunday.
How important is it to not sort of abandon the run game that's gotten going in the past 2 games, even with Tua coming back?
Yeah, I think it's ultimately the maintaining the balance of the offense and maintaining the attack. The last 2 weeks, we made an emphasis in the run game to improve on our efficiency and our efficiency in different areas of the run game, and allowing guys to really play with technique and fundamentals and attack certain elements of their game. And credit to the guys, we improved in those areas, and I think that'll be important for us as we go forward, because our ability to have balance in the run game and allows us to attack the defense in a manner at which they have to adjust. So it's a credit to the guys the last 2 weeks, because they've really been working hard at it. And
how much has it been a confidence builder for the offensive line? I mean, you guys went in with this belief that what we had was good enough, and now you're able to show that from a run game standpoint, it seems to be working.
Yeah, I think I learned early in my career, when things aren't going right, you look at what are we doing, who are we asking to do what, and you don't simplify, but you get back to the core principles of which, you go back. It's not like you go back to spring or training camp, but you go back to the things that you think are important to you for resetting to go forward. And I think that's a real credit to the line, and Butch and the guys, Embo and the tight ends, Eric with the backs, all the core responsible in that, because they really drilled it, extra hard, put in extra work to get it back into fundamentally where they want to be, and that'll be the exciting thing going forward, to build on it.
How much time do you think it'll take for Tua to get the engine of the offense revving at full speed again?
I don't know if it's not necessarily, all on him. It's, all of us together to taking the game plan for the attack and making sure we're all connected on where we expect guys to be, and how we see the defense, and the timing at which we want to operate, and then connecting ourselves together. So I don't think it's necessarily like just him. It's now all of us into, because each game plan's different for the defense. I think that'll be the whole part of the offense, just getting the communication that was necessary for us to work together to accomplish Sunday.
You should have been more specific about timing, accuracy, touch, the rust factor. Is there a rust factor?
I don't know if you'd say there's a rust factor. It's like, when he's going through his process to return, he's working out and doing everything he needs to do to be ready. So I think right now it's like, with him, it's just getting into the game plan, getting ready to go and seeing the defense. And he's Tua. So I know he'll be ready to go when, the game starts on Sunday, and be ready to go, here in a couple hours.
Frank, in the eyes of the coaching staff, has Jalen Wright made the case to play more?
I think that all the backs this year are showing that we have a very deep room, and they all have the ability to help us at different parts of the game plan. But yeah, he's done a great job, just really, really working at all the little things he's had to do. Because coming out of his college system, very much do certain things over and over again, to now being asked to do a wide variety of things. It's a credit to him and Eric, because they've worked really hard to get it done. And I think ultimately all the backs, it allows us versatility to, play the game the way we want to play, with versatility of them playing everywhere.
It had been so long since this offense had a touchdown from a tight end. How gratifying has it been to get to open up that package of plays for Jonnu Smith?
Yeah, it's been great. It goes to, again, when you're going through tough times, guys working hard, and he's really, working with Embo on the side, and then also doing stuff on his own. So to see him to have success and help this offense, it's only going to be that much more important for us as we go forward.
Going back to the run game and how well Jalen Wright has played, is there a benefit one way or the other? Maybe it's not, of going deep into your running back room on a weekly basis versus just putting that that duty on one every down back that can do everything?
I mean, I think we have the I don't know if it's like you'd say luxury, but I think we have the ability with multiple guys that are able to give us different skill sets, so allows us to play versatile out of the room. As you go through a game, certain guys getting their ops. I mean, that's the challenge then when you have a room that's got multiple guys that can play. And that'll be what we'll just make sure we focus on going forward, is making sure we're getting the balance of the guys in the attack, or having multiple of them on the field at the same time to be able to be versatile in what we want to do. Similar to some of the stuff we did last year with Devon and Raheem and Jeff and stuff like that.
Frank, Buda Baker, very smart safety, 100 tackle guy quite often. What do you have to worry about with him? What does he do for their defense?
Yeah, he's an outstanding player, high effort, physical, plays the game really like the way it should be played from that position. So it'd be a challenge. A big thing for us is just, knowing connected, where he is, because as he has the versatility they have in their system where he can play kind of, roving around in different spots. It'll be just our identification, getting connected for when he's in different spots, and making sure the core knows when he's dropping into spots that they're responsible, or he's out playing safety, receiver spots. So I think ultimately it's our communication and building the plan. So, we're very aware of where he is at all times.
What are some of the things Odell Beckham Jr. can stand to do in order to take better advantage of his ops?
I think it's just like everything. It's as you play in multiple systems, timing is different. How maybe you run a route and attack space, is different. So I think it's just getting connected with the, what we're asking to do on those things, and that comes with playing in opportunities and maximizing them. So I think extremely coachable. I mean, he loves getting better, working at things. I think that's going to come just with the repetitions of playing and getting more opportunities as the season goes along.
Coach, I think the Cardinals have two of the most interchangeable safeties in the league with Jalen Thompson and Buda Baker. How does their ability to be in different locations at any given time challenge your guys' offense?
With our communication and then conceptually, what are we trying to do in the attack? Because you could easily, put yourself in a tough spot if it's in the run game with, identification, if you try and be too diverse in the options of which you identify and try and target their defense. And then the passing game, it's just, making sure, that we're distributing the field correctly in the timing. But yeah, they have very challenging back end, and they play really hard, and, they're the really hallmark of their defense, how they play and the standard which they play. So it'll be a good challenge for us for Sunday.
How much have you and Mike, this week specifically, if at all, talked about getting the ball to Tyreek in other ways when teams have cloud coverage, two high safeties, any one of a number of things that have prevented him from being utilized as much the past month?
Yeah, I think it's always on our mind. It's trying to make sure that we get our guys involved. And Tyreek, he's the ultimate competitor, and ultimately with him, he says, winning is the most important thing, not the statistics that come along with it, but ultimately our ability to win is our ability to get him the ball to help us. So, yeah, we're obviously disappointed we didn't get him, the ball more, but at the same time, it's not just one guy. We got to make sure that we're all executing, because, when you look at the game, our ability to we rushed well, but then improve our rushing in the red zone, and then making sure that we don't give the other team opportunities with turnovers. So, there's areas that we want to make sure we improve on, and making sure our key guys get the ball is obviously, always important to us.
With those turnovers, is obviously they came from two guys that most of us in this room would view as like the pillars of what you want from players.
Yep.
Is there a teachable moment in that?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What is that teachable moment?
It's like when bad things happen, it's our ability to not let it get compounded. Alex won down in the red zone. It's when the ball carrier is getting corralled, get to the ball. We had an opportunity where we could have gotten there first if we would have moved to the ball, especially when you feel our ball carrier is getting slowed down, get to the ball. Good things happen when you run to the ball. So a very teachable moment for that. With him, it's just like sometimes guy you can't see is the one who can get the ball. So after that, it's then you learn when it comes out fast and they pick it up fast. Okay, how do you make sure that you don't let a return or a ball on the ground, result in yards in the worst case scenario points? So you can talk about how you rally to the ball, and at the same time, defensive ball carriers aren't used to carrying it as much, and now is an opportunity to create another turnover, which is an instance of many offensive players, because you can get it out, but good things happen when you get to the ball, and that's just the emphasis of, hey, because that's like if you look at that one run we had, I think Devon got fronted up, but we got to the ball and pushed the pile for another 4 yards. Like New England, there were a couple runs where we got fronted up and we were able to push the ball for another 4 yards. So those instances of positive, that's where it could have helped us in those situations. And I think those are the teachable things that we want to make sure that the guys understand.
Frank, and going back and watching this game, I thought I saw some moments of Tyreek blocking very well, very enthusiastically. Is that accurate? And how is he as a blocker overall?
Yes, it is accurate. And him and our receiving core. And taking on the challenge of, when the O-line and backs have to block for you to get the ball, in turn when they get the ball, it's your turn to block. So they take on the challenge well, and they really are always, they're always, Tyreek and Wall always talking about, we're good blockers. So they take a lot of pride in that because, being a good teammate means, doing the things that you got to do to help your teammates, and they always accept the challenge.
Have you guys gone over with Tua ways to protect himself better on the field, encouraging him to slide and things like that? Is that ongoing conversations that you guys are having?
I think he's very aware of things that, as he's reflected on stuff. And so I think ultimately for us, each week we're always making sure the guys know in the game plan how we want to attack, what we're going to do. And for him, he's just such a conscientious guy. The time away gives you perspective, and I think he has a lot of perspective, and he's excited to approach. So knowing him and all of us together, it's, we're all very excited to have him back, and knowing that he has worked his tail off to get to this point.
What's he been like around the building when he couldn't play for 5 weeks?
Well, it's funny because there's a couple of us early morning guys, and then, his process is his return to play is different. So all of a sudden, I'm kidding you not, one morning it was like I was sitting there in my office. It's like 5 a.m. or something, and then all of a sudden I have my headphones on. All of a sudden I hear, "Hey, boss." I'm like, "Sounds like Tua." And then all of a sudden he's standing there in my doorway with a coffee. Like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm getting my day after my day." And I was like, he's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, well, I can't remember what week it was. I was trying to beat whoever. And I think it was 2 weeks ago. I think it was before the New England. It's just, he's just an infectious personality. He's always positive. And just like that, he had more time. So he was up in my office more, just hanging out all of a sudden. But he, the way my desk sits, I can't, if I'm kind of paying attention to the monitor, it's all of a sudden, oh, there you are. So just, it's been engaging, and he's just been awesome. He's just a really fun guy to be around and be able to work with.
Was he more involved or learning a little bit more about putting together the game plan?
Yeah, he asked a lot of he asked a lot of questions at that time, what do you do in the morning? Why are you here so early? It's just him, what causes a coach to think that you need to be here at this time? Why are you? And here's what I do. Here's my process today. Here's what's going on. Well, what are you looking at? I told him, here's what I'm looking at, the coverage and whatever it was. And he was very much of what do you guys do in the day? How do you get the process to it? So it's kind of everything. It gives you perspective to okay, how do you guys do your coaching thing? Because, when you're playing, you're getting the plan, you're going about, and he'd come up and be like, what are you looking at today? Why? All right, what part are you seeing? Is there something? And then we'd have a dialogue. So that was fun, where you can just have it's Coach Tua. So you have a different perspective to things. So that was fun.
Hi, Anthony. I'm going to ask you about Kamara. Had the 2 pressures and the 7 pass rushing snaps. What did he do to convince you guys he was ready to play on Sunday? And has he earned potentially any more time off his play on Sunday?
Yeah, Mo is one of those guys who he's putting in the work. He's a rookie, so sometimes when you don't have the consistency at the trajectory you'd like, you get a little bit frustrated, but it's not through lack of effort. So the one thing we talked about before, he is a physical presence out there. He wants to do right every time he's out there, and he's going to play more just because we see his talent. We know he has playmaking potential, and we're going to have to live through some of those rookie mistakes.
How ready do you feel Cam Smith is just coming back off IR, especially now we see Cater Kohu and Storm Ducker dealing with some injuries?
Yeah, I'm excited about Cam. He has his adversity in year one, and when that happens to a player, it's really easy to kind of like tuck your tail and kind of hide from the fight. He hasn't done that. Had some adversity here early this season, right? Was put on IR. But since he's been back, man, you can just tell he's been back with like a different attitude, a different energy. He's been locked in. So he's still a young player. I don't expect him to go out there and be perfect, but I'm excited to go see him compete and just have fun playing a game that he's obviously been blessed with some special gifts and go out and play well.
With Kohu and Duck injured, who are some of the other players that can play the slot position? Obviously, Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah.
I don't know who else. Bonner, Cam, Needham. Who do you feel comfortable at slot?
Yeah. Obviously, we have a bunch of guys that I think are capable of doing it. Each with their own like specific skill sets. So you try to cater to that. But obviously, you mentioned Jalen already. We've played some 3 safeties with Javon there in the slot. I think Saran Neal is a guy that we can use and could play in there. Potentially, you could see some Cam in there. I think we have a bunch of guys that have the skill set to get the job done. It's just really a matter of what we're trying to do at that particular moment and who we're going to put there.
With Zach and Calais, we see the sacks, we see the TFLs, fumble recoveries. What have they done for this defense, if you can put it in tangible terms? I know that's a very broad question.
I can't sit here and verbalize how important they are. When you're trying to affect the passer, and not even affect the passer, just and play good run defense, you have to be strong on the interior, right? And when you're trying to attack a quarterback, you need push up the middle. Sometimes that push comes through power, sometimes it comes through games, sometimes it comes through just guys winning. Those 2 guys do all of that, which is pretty awesome, which inevitably you'll see like that'll benefit our edges. But outside of just what they're doing on the field, I mean, the impact they have in the locker room, in this building, is tremendous. And I can't say enough good things about them and the people that they are.
Kind of on that topic, we've seen them both kick out and play a lot of 4 and 5 technique. Mm-hmm. Was that something that was kind of in the plan going into the year, or was that due to the attrition you guys have had off the edge?
No, we try very much to be multiple and have our guys do as much as they possibly can with their skill set. We don't want to pigeonhole anybody and just say, hey, you're a 0 technique or you're just a 2-eye. And guys like them that have length but still can bend and play on the interior, you want to put them all over the place just to try to create matchups in your advantage as a defense.
Staying on the defensive line, what has Deshaun Hand shown you where now he's consistently seeing these level of defensive snaps?
Yeah.
Just now, week after week, it's not even a surprise anymore when he plays as much as he does.
Yeah, and I think you said the word just in your question, just consistency. And that's who he is. He is rock solid. You know each and every day exactly what you're going to get out of him. So particularly if you're playing linebacker, you want to know where that guy's going to be and what he's going to do in the run game. So you can kind of gap in half and you feel comfortable back there. Some of our younger players are still working towards that. I think Benito's done a good job of that too in the snaps he's been out there. But Deshaun Hand is exactly what you said. He has been consistent in his technique, which is allowing him to go out there and play more snaps.
Was the decision to use Anthony Walker 20 snaps in place of David last week a result of David being troubled by the knee during the week, or have you concluded that Anthony Walker deserves regular playing time?
Yeah, probably a combination of both. We see our linebacker room as a position of strength for us. Right, I would love to have Duke Riley play more snaps too. They're just, there's only so many snaps in a football game, and like I said, they're all really good. Dave has been battling some knee injuries. Walk certainly isn't a young player, but is an outstanding football player. So in order to get them both right through the course of the season, we're trying to rotate them a little bit.
Regarding Calais Campbell, is there an on-field moment from this season, either watching live or on film, that after I say that kind of jumps out to you? Like, wow, that play or that series. Yeah.
Oh, man. I think it's how we start off the season, right? How rare is it to start off the season with a sack? And I think he made a call to shot. He made a Babe Ruth it too. So that to me sticks out the most, just because I just remember him just bringing the team up pregame and essentially saying, like, I got you. Like I'm gonna get you there. And then to start the season like that, and I think it's just carrying on in every game. Outside of his obviously his special physical traits that he's been given by God, his will to want to go out there and impact the game is so great. So love the guy, man. Just can't say enough about him.
You guys are number one in the NFL in pass defense, but have only 3 picks. Where does that leave you feeling about the work of the pass defense?
Yeah, I think our guys are doing a tremendous job, both as players and as coaches. Brian Duker, Ryan Slowick, Arujo, Deshaun Shedd, that combination. I always said when we were assembling the staff, me and Mike, you know what you want because you know what you aren't, right? I know by nature I'm not a back seven guy. Obviously, I have knowledge of it. But when we brought those guys together, it was to help fill in some of the gaps where I may potentially be weak. So I'm incredibly proud of these guys and the work that they've put forth. I'm incredibly proud of the players just adjusting to the system, because technically there are some things, particularly from the safety position, that's been different from what they've done here in the past. And we kind of worked through some of those fights early on, but now they've completely bought in. So we'd love to have the takeaways and the turnovers and things of that nature. I do believe that those will come. I still think schematically they are growing more comfortable, right? So we always said it's going to go from competency to confidence to flow state, and we're still very much chasing flow state as a group. And I think when we hit that, that's when those takeaway and turnover ops will come.
Okay, here. How much of your usage of Jalen Ramsey on the blitz comes from the fact that you kind of know that teams are shying away from his side?
I'm trying to bring Jalen as much as I possibly can. And that is actually a funny story. So I blitzed him 3 straight times. All right. And obviously you don't want to have a tell or a tendency. And he's so smart that we can do everything with him without having to just blitz him when he's at a particular spot. So we get to halftime, and our corners coach, Matthew Ruggio, comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, Coach, Jalen's been at nickel 5 times. You've only blitzed him once." And I go, "All right, thanks." And that was the next drive where he went 3 straight times. So like I said, he is a weapon. He is so much more than a corner. He is a football player. So as much as we can get him around the ball to make an impact, we're going to try to do that.
Anthony, going back to Campbell for a minute, we all know his record in this league. It's a mile long, his accomplishments. But you also know how old he is. When you put all that together, if you could go back to before the season began and project the expectations you may have had for him versus the production you've gotten from him, how do the two compare?
I think they're exactly what you see. Having been with him for 2 years prior, just knowing the work ethic and the standard he has for himself, I don't think he's out on that field if he couldn't have this impact. He's too prideful, right, as we all are. And he wouldn't want to tarnish his legacy, and I don't blame him for that. So I think what you're seeing from him is exactly what I expected.
When you have young edge guys, how much is the film that you're able to show them helpful for their overall development and their overall growth?
I think the film is incredibly important, right? You try to show them the way, and hopefully they can go out there, and I don't want to say mimic, but take pieces and parts of all these tremendous edge players in this league, take parts of their games. What happens as young players, though, is you're just inundated with so much information in terms of the scheme, the pre-snap information that the offense is giving you, and then how you want to play blocks, how you're attacking particular sets on these guys. Like, it's a lot to process. So early on, the game just seems like, I still remember my rookie year and I'm playing against Jonathan Ogden, right? Fun. Okay, guys like this wide, I'm locking it out, I can't find the ball. He's like a perennial Hall of Famer. He's faster than me probably. Like, I was like, what is happening? And I think I was on the ground like 7 of the first 10 plays I'm playing in the spring. But inevitably what happens is you get comfortable. You now know the scheme where you don't have to think about what you're gonna do, you just know. Right now, you can take the next step, and you're seeing like, all right, where's the depth of this tackle? Where's the back offset? Like, how deep is this tight end? Is it condensed formation? All these things that you know are going to tell you pre-snap, give you some. Where you're a good poker player now, and you're getting the tells, and then the game starts to slow down. And now you can just go win your technique and fundamentals that you now have 1,000,000 reps in, and not 100 reps in. So, again, I'm pleased with where those guys are at. We're obviously trying to push them to get to where they got to get to faster. But I do believe that, like, repetition is the mother of skill. So we just got to give them reps upon reps upon reps and everything in the meeting room, on the football field, in the classroom, and they'll come along.
You were around Lamar Jackson in Baltimore, obviously.
Yeah.
How close is Kyler Murray to him in terms of his scrambling ability, and how hard you have to drill into your edge defenders, particularly to be very disciplined in that way, right?
Yeah, we certainly have to account for that. He's one of those guys. He is so special from a speed standpoint, where you could be perfect and you think you have an angle, and he's going to outrun you. So we'll try to simulate some drills to try to create that on the football field. I don't know how real it actually is. The kid is so special. He looks like Tyreek playing quarterback. So we're going to do our best to try to contain him, but we know if he decides he wants to pull that thing down, it's going to take multiple defenders to get to him.
To piggyback off of Poop's earlier stat about the pass defense and picks, you guys are also toward the bottom of the league in sacks. So how does a defense that's doing that, how do you get to number 1 in pass defense and number 1 in third down defense?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of just one, how well we're playing in the back end, and then the fear offenses have of like where we're potentially bringing pressure from, whether that's a true blitz or a sim. I think quarterbacks were speeding up their clocks a little bit, which when we do 4-man rush, they may still be thinking like, oh, I got to get this ball out. So, I think it's always the balance there. It's the balance of showing pressure, rushing 4, getting them to a second hitch, blitzing where now he's getting the ball out because he knows. And I think right now that's probably hindering some of our sack numbers. Just guys thinking they have to get the ball out because they don't know what's coming behind them.
Interesting.
Coach, kind of that same application about the edges getting their feet wet. I know you called defense back in 2020 in Houston, but how would you say the experience of the first, 6 games here, how have you kind of grown and fallen into the role of like being comfortable with how you call your defense?
Yeah, they say like you gotta grow through some adversity in order to like, sharpen your skill set like a pencil, right? You gotta sharpen, you gotta go through some rough patches in order to get, to the point. But I am a much better coach than that year in 2020, but I'm a much better coach because of that year in 2020. Just going through that adversity with COVID and then injuries and things of that nature and trying to adapt and then really recognizing where my weaknesses were and trying to work on those. So I think that's benefited me through the 6 games thus far. And, it's one of those things where when you're in that fire in the moment, you sit there, and I referenced the book of Job to the guys this week, where he had everything, right, was essentially stripped and had to remain faithful, and you're wondering why, right? Count it all joy. But inevitably, like, he gets all those riches back because he remained faithful. And I've told that to the guys this week, like, we had expectations, we've taken a hit, but remain faithful and have trust and belief in who we are, and we can get this thing turned around, and that's just what we'll do. And I think it's the exact same thing that pertains to me being in this seat again.
How does Tua's return help the defense intangibles and in intangibles?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you get your starting quarterback that threw for 10,000 yards the year before, that's gonna provide a spark for everybody, not just the defense, the offense, everybody in the building. He's a heck of a player, a phenomenal person, and when you're in situations like this, you want hope, and I think he provides that. So we just got to go out there and continue our job. We're not trying to put any pressure on him. We just know who he is and the talent he brings.
So the team release depth chart has Malik now replacing Braxton, your punt kickoff returner. Is that the way you expect it to go for the most part? I know there are always exceptions for Tyreek and Jalen. And what skills does he bring to the job?
Well, I think as you guys saw, and you gals, he did a good job in the preseason. He's got a good history. We were happy with where he was coming out of training camp after the preseason, and then was dealing with a little bit of an injury. So, number one, happy to have him back to begin with. Sadly, with Braxton getting injured, and we felt really off to a strong year in the return game and decision making, and some of the things that he was able to do. But with Malik and some of the other guys that we've talked about over the years, we think we still have some quality players on the roster that'll be dressed on Sunday that we can get through the game.
Danny, just looking at the video, it looked like Braxton was non-contact. He was at the 20-yard line and made the cut.
Yeah, just making a cut, put his foot in the ground to make the cut, and it's a sad deal, but that's it's the game we play, sadly, and it's part of it.
Blake Ferguson, is there anything you can tell us about him and the job that Matt did in his replacing him?
Blake dealing with a personal issue, and we're going to support him, and he's still a member of our club, and a guy we have great respect for, but we're going to do everything we can while he's dealing with what he's dealing with, and in the meantime, like everything in the National Football League, the train doesn't stop. So we were fortunate we were able to get Matt in, and he did a good job on Sunday, and look forward to working with him going forward.
What's the challenge for a new long snapper? I mean, cadence, weather,
all of it. It's a different operation. The sequence. The protection, the terminology. It's any player, but that player in specific. That's what starts the play. So anytime you're changing center, quarterback, the cadence, the operation, the voice inflections, all those things are a moving part. So those are things that we're working through, and so far happy with where we're at.
You mentioned Overton did a fine job on Sunday. Right now he's on the practice squad needing to be elevated each week. Could you see him as a long-term solution if he's needed?
There's so many moving parts when it comes to handling roster stuff. So there's a lot of ways that we can handle it right now because of how our roster is set up. That's the best way for us to operate.
Your punt block team or punt return team, I correct me if I'm wrong, Julian Hill, Deshaun Hand, and Quentin Bell all came close to punt blocks, or perhaps Calais tips one earlier this year. How is that unit doing from that respect?
Yeah, they're doing well. We got to finish those plays, as you mentioned. We got the tip, and we're getting the close twos. Saying anything, and that's a little bit where we are right now. You look at it in a couple other phases, i.e. field goals. We've hit the upright twice in a row. Close, we got to be able to get it done. We got to be able to finish the play. They're doing a great job putting themselves in position. Now we just got to be able to clean up some of those minor details to be able to finish some of those plays.
Julian Hill had a false start. You don't have to name any, but was that Julian? I thought it was someone else.
There were multiple people, so
I figured I might owe Julian an apology. Social media apology. And then just a football question. So before on the touchback, before the half, the touchback to the 30, Indy only has to go 36 yards, and anybody does. 2 plays, 52-yard field goal. Is that touchback too punitive? What have you thought? What does the league want you to do?
No, again, those are all things, and don't take this. We're not worrying about what the league thinks, and what we're going to play the rules, and we're going to play the numbers. We have our own thoughts and process, and there's a lot of things that go into that. Timeouts, who you're playing, who the quarterback. There's a myriad of things that go into that, and it's a week-to-week, game-to-game operation and decision that we'll make based on, like I said, who we're playing, how much time, how many timeouts, how the game is progressing. Is it a shootout? So there's a lot of things that go into that.
But just as a football question, that the extra 10 yards, you used to get it at the 20.
Well, it's not.
That's. Am I reading that wrong?
I think you can't even think about that anymore. I mean, the average drive start on a return is the 29. The average drive start on a touchback's the 30. So the 20-30 is. Get that out of your mind. Right now it's a yard.
How is the snap and how is the protection on the missed field goal near the end of the game?
We can clean up. There's one thing that we can clean up from a protection standpoint, but the snap, the hold, the kick, no problem with it. Again, we just, it's 2 weeks in a row we hit the left upright. If it was, again, I don't like it. It bothers me. I'm not happy. It's a results, got to have points business. But at the same time, you see misses that are like, what the heck is going on? You have misses where you're hitting the stick. It's not that it's easier to frickin' live with because it's points that we leave on the field and we don't put them on the board. But it's, it's not something that I stress over. There's a lot of stuff I stress over. Yeah.
DJ Dallas for them, he took one back earlier this season. What do you have to do to make sure that doesn't happen?
Talented player. You got to tackle him. He is a hard-running, physical running back. You're not going to bring him down with arm tackles. He does a good job. When he has a crease, he does a good job of putting his foot in the ground and finding it. And deceptive speed for a bigger player. They got multiple guys in the return game that are good players. So, when they have the ball in their hand, we have to do a good job of tackling, whether it's whether it's Dortch in the kick game, return game, can make people miss. So it's a good group.
They've got Chad Ryland kicking. Does that affect your strategy and for Mike or for Anthony Weaver or any of you? I mean, he's obviously not Prater.
No, but again, he's, if you look at the season that he's having, and there's a lot of those guys around the league that, maybe have a speed bump with their first organization and then they come back with the next organization or the second organization and they're very, very productive and good players. You could, I see a couple guys and gals shaking their head. In your mind, you're thinking, oh, there's this guy. Everybody can think of 2 or 3 guys on their own, probably not even the same people. So he's a good player. He's a talented kicker. Getting a second chance, which you love to see, and doing a good job. So won't change our thought process at all.
Curious if the league put out any memo about the pushing the head down thing that we see, the pushing the head down and jumping, because I saw it was flagged on a player in a national game last week. Was there a reminder sent out or something?
It's in the weekly, yeah. They're like, here's some things that are going on, and here's some things. Here are the rules, and here's what you can and cannot do. So, something that the officials are just more aware of. Anytime it happens, especially in a national game, it's going to, going forward.
So last week's games, there was a reminder about the pushing.
Something that was something that was talked about, and it's,
while touching, can't use them for leverage. That's
correct.
a key word, right? Leverage.
Correct. You can't touch your player or the opposing player as you work through the line of scrimmage.
One more thing on Blake, obviously, without getting into why he's absent. Obviously, the list he's on puts him out 4 games.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have a chance to ask Mike this yesterday with all the Tua news, but is the expectation that Blake will play for you this season again?
Again, I no timetable, don't know. We're dealing with things, and whatever course those things take, when it comes to fruition and he's available, we'll go and cover that bridge when we get to it.
Tell me about Jalen Ramsey and using him, having him close to the ball. It looks like he can be used on any down to eliminate any threat on the field. Well, not any threat, but any passing game threat. Is that accurate? What's
That's
good about
inaccurate because he's also effective in the run game. So I would say that's inaccurate. We try to put him in position to make impact plays. He's an impact player for us, and if we think that whatever position is going to be most likely to make an impact on what we expect, we'll try to put him there. So the best way I can explain that.
How have you seen Cam Smith develop, and then now just coming back from injury? How quickly do you think he can get reincorporated into things?
I think he'll do a good job because the whole time he was injured, he was around in meetings. We'd keep him engaged mentally. So I feel very good about where he is. Obviously, I don't have a lot of experience with him just from being banged up. So I'm be excited to see him, come out. I think he's done a really good job in a short practice time. I've been very happy with what I have seen, and I'll be excited to see him play. I think he's done a really good job. Obviously mentally, he's stayed locked in, which I appreciate.
You mentioned it's a short period of time you've had him. What kind of tools do you see in him just from when you first had him, and then also maybe growth just in that short time?
The biggest growth we've seen him, let me start with the first. The tools wise, he's a long, fast, twitchy corner. You appreciate that about that's kind of what you're looking for at corner, so you appreciate that about him. And then from a growth perspective, I think the biggest thing I've seen growth at him is really just his preparation and kind of his approach every day.
Regarding Cater, it seemed like last year he kind of got thrown at because you had Jalen and X. and he's that guy. This year, I don't know if he's been thrown at, but it looked like last game he made more plays. Is that accurate, and how has he been doing overall?
I can't speak on last year. I can just speak that this year he's done a very good job when targeted. I would say overall, I'm very happy with him. His flexibility. When you talk about Jalen's flexibility, the counter side of that is Cater's flexibility as well. So I've been very happy with him, and he's been very productive on the ball.
What are some keys to limiting Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison's connection?
I think the first part of that is just obviously being tight with our coverage on him. Be conscious of how they're using him. Try to make sure you got guys in the right spots. Obviously he's had a lot of success with some of the deep balls. So you're conscious of that. The other thing about him is the extended plays. Kyler's done a really good job finding him in the extended plays, so trying to stay plastered as the play gets extended, and in addition to taking away that opportunity for the extended play.
The other part of that equation is Trey McBride as well. Their tight end. How much can you maybe give him different looks? Without revealing too much, is Jalen Ramsey an option to also go cover him, safeties, etc.?
Yeah, it's good going back to earlier, like wherever we think Jalen can have the most impact, we like to put him there. So obviously, McBride's an impact player for them as well, so that's something to be conscious of. They have multiple offensive threats, and so whenever you try to put resources somewhere, you take resources away from another place. So you kind of got to be conscious of where you want them every time.
Ryan, how's Kendall Fuller played this year, do you think?
Yeah, Kendall's been great. Really was a good addition. Happy we have him. Really smart. A good vet outside and really good presence in the room. He's been really productive on the ball too. Had a nice PBU last game that showed up. So love having him. Been great.
How much has Marcus May's veteran presence helped you guys, considering all the injuries that you have in the safety position?
Yeah, that's showing up obviously with having some safeties out. Marcus has been a plug and play guy for us. Having a good vet ready to go made it easy. Didn't bat an eye when some of those guys went down.
From your observation, when Javon has been practicing with something on his hand, do you think he has the ability to perform in games with that once the team and the medical staff and Javon are all okay with him playing from a health standpoint?
Yeah, I feel very good about him being able to go with the hand. At that point, it's really just a matter of pain tolerance, and he'll be fine. He's a tough guy, so I'm not worried about that. And I've seen him make plenty of one-handed catches, so I'm not worried about that either. I really don't have any concern with him at the hand. I feel very good about his ability to execute.
So is that what it is right now, just a pain tolerance situation?
I'd be lying if I said that because I have no idea what it is. But I don't know if they said he's clear to play with it, then great. So
You guys pass coverage to my eye seems pretty well. I can think of maybe some busts and things like that, but in general, how have you guys been in just pass coverage? It seems like it's been pretty good.
Yeah, overall pretty good. We'll try and take a step and be great. Obviously that's what we're chasing. I think our stats have been pretty good, and we'll continue to chase greatness. Feel good about where we are. Feel good about the growth and the execution of the group overall. Been happy, but we have a higher standard too. So,
what have you done well as far as coverage?
Executing the coverages. That's the short for we have good, smart players. They execute. They communicate well. They're on the same page. Anticipate it. They know what we're doing. They know the intent of the call.
If I have this right, you were a defensive intern with Cleveland one year where Anthony Weaver was also there. You got any stories working with him?
Yeah, I was there with Weave. That was kind of a connection, kind of how I ended up here too. I shoot every day's story with Weave. He just, it's good, a lot of fun to be around. The same guys you guys see, he's like that all the time. So, really enjoy his presence and being around him, and he's fun. So, I would say he's the same guy he was back then. He is now, just really fun, positive energy. Like working with Weave a lot.
You missed Mike by 1 year there, though.
I did. Yeah, I missed Mike by 1 year. Yep. Same time, I missed him in San Fran by 1 year too. Kind of in and out a couple times.
Brian, what's just a random thing on Isaiah Johnson, obviously on the practice squad? What's the NFL skill that makes you guys want to invest in him that he possesses?
Yeah, so Isaiah, obviously, kind of talked about long corners earlier, the ability, to play the deep balls and take those away. He's shown that. He's also shown to be, I would say one thing about Isaiah, a very smart player. So he knows the whole defense. I could put him at the end right now and feel really good about it. He's very smart, and that's shown up. Happy with him. Just continues to grow, gives us good flexibility, does a good job going outside, really good at the line of scrimmage with his length.
What have you liked about Storm Duck? We hear a lot about his physicality, and he's not afraid to come up and make the tackles. What do you like about Storm?
I'm going to go back to my long, fast corners, and he fits that. In addition to just the physical side of Storm, I think for a rookie, his approach and his professionalism has been very good. He, shows up to work every day, really punches the clock, and is a humble person. And it really, I would say, has not been a mistake repeater. Sometimes a rookie just learns lessons fast. So that's kind of gotten him ready to play quickly.
When you have four young guys like you do with Cam Smith and Bonner and Storm, and obviously Isaiah on the practice squad, how do you and Matthew and Anthony make determinations on who is best equipped to be next up if, God forbid, one of your veterans is not available when there's not a ton of practice reps for obviously some scout team? How tough are those calls?
It's definitely a thing like you're conscious of. Now we have, all the spring reps, the training camp reps, so those cumulative reps. You have an opinion on each player at that point. I would say we're not making decisions necessarily in the week on that. You know what I mean? We're not just strictly judging on last week's scout team performance. So we kind of have a larger data set that we're basing those decisions on. But to your point on that, we do have a bunch of young guys that we're really confident in, which is great.
For a few more guys.
You forgot to say shit too. It's doing a good job.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And I guess Bonner was the one guy we hadn't asked you about. I know there were high hopes for him off this preseason, and we saw Storm surpass him. Is there anything Ethan can do to help himself long term, try to establish himself as an NFL player?
I think Ethan's already established himself as an NFL player. I mean, he's shown to be a guy that you want on your team. Obviously, he's not, I'm sure he's not playing as much as he wants to, but you're talking about establishing as a starter potentially. I think he's certainly shown that skill set. We'd be very happy to play him. I think that opportunity will come.